Hi, my name is Jessica Stafford, and I am Senior Vice President of our Consumer Solutions at Cox Automotive. So I run the Autotrader and Kelley Blue Book businesses, and I'm really excited to have a chance to talk to you all today. I hope everyone is staying super healthy and safe, definitely operating very differently in all aspects of life these days, but excited to be able to talk to you all today, albeit virtually, of course, about car shopping and buying and where the future is really going in our industry today. Now, a lot of the content and the research that we're going to talk about today was conducted actually before the pandemic hit. But what's fascinating is to see how these concepts have actually come to life over the last few months. One of the main points we're going to talk about today is how important it is to prepare for the future and to aim to get on kind of that leading edge of new technologies and ways of doing business, because we're seeing that consumer trends and demands are moving faster than ever. Consumers are adopting new technologies and expecting seamless and simple buying experiences. And what we may have originally planned for a kind of future plan being, 5, 10 years out is now more of a rolling plan, looking at, maybe more like 1 to 3 years out at most. And this is because our industry and consumers are moving fast. So we're going to talk a lot about consumer behavior today and how important it is to lean into the needs and the demands of car shoppers. But we're gonna look at it from a few different angles, both inside our automotive industry as well as outside, because we're seeing that all industries are really converging when it comes to how consumers engage and interact. And the ideas you're going to hear today are quite aspirational. So keep that in mind. For the next 45 minutes or so, think of yourself as a shopper, as a consumer yourself. These are ideas that consumers have kind of dreamt up and that they want, that they're asking for. But a few of them are pretty far out there, you'll see. So the idea is that these are interesting tools and ideas that should spark innovation and spark ways that we can all think about how to apply some of these ideas to our own businesses. Some of the concepts are around service, some around the purchase process. But what I'd ask of you is that for this session, just think of these concepts as themes. Put yourself in the shoes of your shoppers and think about how you buy things in life and what you'd want to make the process even easier and seamless in this new contactless world that we're all living in and beyond, really. So think about how you might apply some of these ideas to your own business and in your own way. Now, we know that consumers are not overly satisfied with their car shopping experience, and so that there is a need for transforming this consumer experience. It's necessary. Consumers are demanding it. And so the key here is to really listen to what consumers, our customers, are asking for, listen to their demands, listen to kind of what they're sharing with us that they want in car shopping, as well as other aspects of their life. I'll give you an example to start with that happened outside of our automotive industry, but at Autotrader, we're big partners with the NBA, and every year we have an opportunity to go to something called a tech summit. And in this case, the different partners of the NBA get together and talk about and hear about new technologies, new tools, new things that different brands are putting into place, as well as the NBA. And so last year we got to see this really interesting video that was kind of meant to be a day in the life of a new NBA fan. Now, again, remember, this is pre-pandemic, but the idea and the demands of consumers are the same. So they showed us this video of how you might walk into an NBA game in the future, and not only are you not scanning a paper ticket, but you don't even have to scan your phone because you've got your phone in your pocket. It's got your digital ticket loaded on it. When you walk in, it knows who you are, and maybe a hologram of the mascot shows up, giving a virtual high five to your kids. And you kind of can see, again, virtually, maybe arrows pointing you towards where your seat is. And then your kids might roll out a digital poster that they can fill out and create an opportunity to cheer for whatever player it is they want to cheer for that day. Same thing, they kind of debuted this idea of a virtual and dynamic jersey so that you could wear your favorite player's number to the game and then kind of switch it in the next game that you're watching. The idea being that something as fun as going to a basketball game could become that much better by way of making the experience better and seamless and simple, so that there's nothing frustrating as you rush to get into the arena and get to your seat, but also even more technically enabled to create a dynamic experience. So while that lives very far outside of our automotive world, we actually took that as an opportunity to take a step back and say, how could this exist in automotive? How could we make the automotive experience frictionless and seamless? And how could we look at what consumers are asking us for? And so we did a bunch of research that we'll talk to you about today, but what that kind of culminated in is this video that I'm going to show you, which kind of takes that aspirational view at what a car shopping and car ownership process could look like in the future, all based on what real car shoppers and buyers told us they're looking for. So take a look at this video and then we'll talk about it.
Imagine a world where 98% of car shoppers are happy and enjoy the process of shopping, buying, and even servicing cars. A world where personalized data removes frustrations and offers recommendations, making daily life more convenient, more awesome. Advanced technology encourages them to consider alternate vehicles and new modes of transportation. Data-driven predictive experiences make everyday tasks possible.
Your coffee will be ready when you arrive at Starbucks. You have a message from the dealership.
Play message.
Hey, Emily, this is Lou from the dealership. Your car's due for service. Let us know when we can pick it up for you.
I'm having lunch with my friends tomorrow. Can they pick it up while I'm eating with them?
Absolutely. Looks like I have everything I need right here. The manufacturer also suggests you upgrade your child seat. It might be time to consider a new car.
Show me some options when I get home tonight.
Good evening. Would you like to review the automobile options your dealership sent over?
Yes, please. This is the one.
This is a smart choice that will also keep your monthly payments in the same range.
The future of test driving and servicing can be at the convenience of the consumer.
Due to your car's mileage and calendar availability, the optimal time for your service appointment is 6 p.m. at the home address. Would you like to confirm?
Yes, confirm.
The dealership offers a 3-day test model while you wait on your service. Would you like to reserve a specific model?
That's the one. I like that one.
Confirming. Your schedule also shows a pickup at the dry cleaners. The dealership has offered to make that stop for you.
Perfect.
Your preferences and passwords have been transferred.
Thank you. Play my gym mix. I like this truck. How can I learn more about it?
The manufacturer offers a test track experience for this car to learn how to employ all its benefits. After attending, you're eligible to join the exclusive brand driving club.
Yeah, well, let's do it.
Your car is ready. You may choose from these two options: see service ticket and pay, or purchase new vehicle.
Can't have the truck back.
A subscription mobility platform where the lifestyle data we collect empowers recommendations to find the vehicle they want on demand. To have easy access to options when they need it most. Wherever the future goes, get there first.
So you can see that there's a lot of really interesting concepts that came up in that video. And again, that video was created based on real input from real shoppers and kind of thinking into the future about what could be a great part, an amazing and simple part of their car shopping process in the future. This idea of pickup and delivery for service, for purchase, for really anything having to do with their vehicles comes into play quite a few times, and we'll talk about that a bit today. This other idea of kind of the connected car to your home. You know, there was the Starbucks coffee example in the video. Think about how new technologies within vehicles or within your home or in the palm of your hand can come into play here. And these things are rolling out, frankly, year by year. There's a lot of opportunities to create this connectivity that people are looking for in their life. And ultimately, that all comes together, helping to save time for consumers. And that's what they're looking for in their life these days. So we're going to talk a lot about this. I know that it all seems very far out in the future, things like virtual assistants and predictive needs, but the key here is that the future is coming faster than ever. So what can we do today to pull some of these features into our current operation and experience for consumers? It's coming faster than ever because consumer demands are increasing. We found that consumers' expectations and demands are getting higher and higher and more consistent across every vertical. Think about how we all interact with every other part of our life, and then how all of that is intertwined. So whether it's ordering groceries or dry cleaning, everything now comes to my house and is kind of what we would call on demand. And not only that, but they're intermingling between different verticals, between different industries. So things like an Instacart grocery delivery is partnering with vacation rental companies in order to connect the dots so that when I drive to the beach and show up at a home that I might be renting, I can have groceries waiting for me right there. The idea is, how do we connect technology and logistics together to make consumers' lives that much simpler? And what's interesting is that all of this is fueled by, of course, data and personalization that connects the dots between each of these components. So many industries are using data and personalization to enable what we would all call, and what we are all looking for, is a frictionless experience. This is what consumers are getting more and more used to in every part of their life. So it's no wonder that they're going to start expecting it in industries like automotive or even real estate that are high purchase products, longer consideration sets, but they're going to expect that same simple experience. Before the pandemic, we were already seeing companies like Uber Eats explode because of the convenience factor, or things like Apple Pay offering easy contactless payment options. And again, this was before kind of the health scare that we were all going through. So one thing that's consistent across all these examples on the screen is that they were all anchored in a focus and a foundation of convenience for the consumer, adding value to their experience, making something that was once hard easier. And in doing all of that, saving time for the customer. Now, think about these companies during the pandemic. They've already lived in the world of on-demand from home, often contactless service. So now they're exploding even more. When we look at how consumer trends have shifted over the last few months, what we see is an increase in the demands that we had already started seeing before, and a lean into all of these kinds of products and services that are virtual. That are coming to the consumer and that are simplified wherever possible. That frictionless experience is critical for consumers these days because there are options that give them what they need. So if you aren't one of those options, they're going to skip over you and look to the others. So we all have to think about parts of the process that we can make even better for our customers out there. An important part of the analysis for each of us should be around which part of the car shopping process, or which step in our approach as a business is important to have that human touch, because the human touch is important. It doesn't mean that everything should become virtual and machine-based, whether it's for the expertise that our sales staff brings to the table, or for the power of building a relationship with that customer to help them get into what they need. And so which areas can we build automation? Can we build technology into, and tools that help expedite or simplify this process? And which areas should we still have that human touch? Better yet, can we build out a shopping and buying process in a way that enables consumers to choose when they want to interact and when they don't? I know that seems a bit scary for our industry and our sales process historically being grounded in in-person close relationship buildings. But what I'll tell you is that the key here is to engage with shoppers and buyers in a way that they want to engage, in the way that they want to communicate with us, especially right now with sensitive times. If they text you and want to get information via a text message, you need to text them back. If they want to email or chat online, you need to engage in that way. It makes a huge difference to consumers when they're able to communicate the way they're most comfortable. And nowadays that's often, from their couch on their phone. And so all of these components come together to create a really great experience that consumers are looking for. Communication and communicating back to those customers in a way that they want to communicate is a form of personalizing their experience. It can be as simple as engaging the way that they want to, all the way to a more complex kind of data-driven digital experience for your shoppers using personalized data to give them the seamless and frictionless experience we've been talking about. And you can see here that the majority of people want the vehicle buying and ownership process to be personalized, and they're expecting us in the industry to use data to enable that. So knowing how important a personalized shopping experience is and how we're seeing consumer demands in our space continue to grow really, really fast, what we wanted to do was dig in and do some research to understand what really moves the needle for consumers and what we need to be prepared for right now and in the next, say, 3 to 5 years to change in our operations, in our industry in order to meet those demands. So like I mentioned, this study was done pre-pandemic, but it's truly amazing to see how many of these concepts have actually come to life in the last few months. So the process we went about for this research is we took a 3-phased approach. So phase 1 was we did deep, in-depth interviews with experts and futurists out in the industry. And these were qualitative conversations and interviews to start to pull out some of those big picture concepts, kind of, what do you envision for the future of car shopping and buying? What types of tools and technologies and features would you be looking for? Do you think consumers will look for? What else is happening outside of our industry, and how should we be considering that in automotive? So that was step 1. Phase 1 was to create a range of options from these interviews. Phase 2 was something called a dream lab. So we created 30 concepts, spanned all points of the consumer experience, from shopping and buying and service and ownership and all of the moments in between. We created those 30 concepts coming out of these big ideas that were fueled by experts and futurists. And we took those concepts and we put them in front of a group of consumers, and we kind of saw what they could dream up through this process, taking those as beginning concepts. What could that turn into if you were to kind of dream the best experience ever? How does that then live in the car shopping process of the future? So we kind of got the big ideas. We then created these 30 concepts, and then finally we took those 30 concepts and we quantitatively tested them among over 2,000 consumers. And so this was our approach to a really different way of conducting some research that would help us kind of get to that concept and the ideas and the themes that shoppers aren't getting right now. So they're not even sure what's possible out there. And really, we came back with some great findings from that study, but they bucket into 3 categories that we'll talk about today. Number 1, service is a huge opportunity that gives us a chance to remove friction to consumers' experiences today. There's a lot of friction in the consumer service process today, but a lot of the concepts and feedback we got from the research suggests that there are things that we could do right now to remove that friction. The other bucket we'll talk about is that we need to really pay attention to these tech-forward consumers, because they are kind of a peek and a peer into what the general population of tomorrow will be. And we found this group of tech-forward consumers to be really interesting and a really great way to kind of figure out what's coming up next and how can we get ahead of it. So we need to pay attention to them. And then finally, this concept of innovation moving faster than ever. So what we consider the future is really coming fast. And this concept of how far out should we be planning for became really evident in our research, that we all need to be thinking about how we move a bit faster. So let's dig into each of these. The first one being service. So this is a huge opportunity for improving current experiences right now. Now, I know there are a ton of challenges in removing friction from the buying process that we're rapidly working through as well. These service challenges are actually areas that we found we could put a little bit of focus on and make a big difference. The demands that consumers have are actually addressable right now and are being addressed by a lot of you all and of dealers that offer service. Some of you may be considering whether to offer service now or in the future. So think about these next concepts we talk about, because it could be a reason to consider that change more seriously. There's a really big opportunity in this space. We found that close to 90% of consumers actually expect dealers to know something about them when they reach out for service. So this concept can kind of apply to repeat buyers as well. The idea being that they want you to know something about them. They want you to utilize the information and the data that you have to personalize the experience for them. So I mentioned that we tested 30 big picture concepts spanning the entire innovation spectrum, if you will. And the most appealing concept of all of them was service drop-off and pickup with a guaranteed loaner vehicle. So 89% of consumers really liked this idea because it saves them time. And time is huge for customers right now, as you can imagine. It's huge for all of us, right? Anything we can do in the shopping and buying process or in the service process to save time is key. Consumers in the study really felt that the idea of drop off and pickup was convenient. They felt like it catered to them. It made them feel special and serviced in a really great way. Services come to their house now. Groceries, like we talked about, Uber Eats, laundry, dry cleaning, dog walking, daycare. So they expect all things to kind of come to them, including that has to do with their vehicle. In fact, 67% of consumers said that they would be willing to switch dealers just to have this type of service, which is a huge opportunity for us to differentiate on a capability that really exists today for a lot of us. So this was relevant and important in the pre-pandemic world, but now it's obviously critical in a lot of areas. We see that shoppers are even more used to this idea of delivery, and our current studies are showing that consumers will continue to want these services after the pandemic is over, because they have found them to be so convenient and they've truly changed their life. For example, here, we launched a suite of what we call dealer home services at Autotrader back in early April that's been wildly adopted by both dealers and shoppers. But the idea is that so many dealers are offering at-home services, at-home test drives, delivery to the house for a purchase or service, virtual walkarounds of the car, whether that's live on FaceTime or a virtual video walkaround, and things like money-back guarantees or opportunities to test drive the vehicle again ahead of time. So many shoppers want these services, and so many dealers are actually offering these services, again, whether it has to do with service or whether it has to do with a purchase process. But consumers, your buyers, your car shoppers, they're just not used to dealers offering these types of services because it's new to our industry, but they desperately want them. So the idea is, if you can offer this idea of at-home test drive, for example, then you have to get out there and tell shoppers about it so that they know about it. It differentiates you as a dealer. Now, when it comes back to that idea of service and maybe whether you are considering service in your dealership or not, there's an interesting statistic I wanted to call out. Dealers actually capture the highest share of service visits, surprisingly. However, dealers' share is still only 33%, meaning that there is a wide spread of where people are going to get their car serviced. And cost plays a big role in keeping customers away from dealer service departments, although that's a misperception, as we know, because the costs aren't actually higher. But location is number two. So this is something we can overcome by offering service and vehicles being able to be brought to consumers, which would overcome that idea of the location not being convenient to a shopper. Now, let's jump into the second concept we want to talk about today, which is this idea of tech-forward consumers kind of providing a chance for us to peek into the future of what our broad market might expect. The adoption of technology is happening faster now than ever before, and this is causing the kind of adoption curve to change and to shift. The number of consumers who consider themselves kind of early tech adopters is growing every year. And while younger audiences, Gen Z, millennials, lead in this movement, the shift towards faster adoption is happening across all generations, all ages. So it suggests an increased kind of comfort with new technology by nearly all consumers, and something that we should be considering. you may have seen charts similar to this in the past, but basically the idea is that it shows the rate of technology adoption is moving faster and faster over time. We look at kind of that tipping point typically as being when 25% of the population has adopted a new technology, that kind of considers it adopted. And if we look back far enough, we see clear evidence that we are reaching that tipping point faster and faster. And it's tough because we tend to think about our automotive industry differently than others. And this puts us at risk of not moving fast enough to kind of keep up with what our customers' expectations really are. And what we found was that those expectations, those quick expectations, are fueled by a group. We're calling them Trailblazers for this exercise. And so we looked at the concepts that we tested and we compared them, how they resonated with consumers of today, kind of daily consumers, the average consumer, and then how they resonated with what we would call Trailblazers, these kind of early adopters, these folks that are really adopting new technologies quickly and have high expectations of it. So the idea here is to see what futuristic concepts are expected with the average consumers, what themes did they think were interesting, and then what themes did these Trailblazers really gravitate towards. And so we can compare and contrast and think about then what should we lean into for the future. So customers of today had the strongest preferences towards experiences like at-home maintenance, like we've talked about, travel partnerships between different brands, vehicle kind of experience centers, and this idea of pick up and drop off for everything, for test drive, for service, etc. And you can see how those concepts kind of showed up across the customer's buying journey. And the theme that really stands out here is that of convenience and the opportunity for that delivery and on-demand type of service from a dealership. That's what these customers are looking for of today. So let's dive a little deeper into a couple of these ideas and what they look like for today's consumers. So the first one I want to talk about is this idea of a vehicle center. So this is a location where you can view vehicles and get kind of guided tours on all of the vehicle features from a product specialist and not necessarily a salesperson. Over 70% of consumers found this really appealing, and over half of them would actually switch, again, dealerships or brands for a concept like this. So the key reason that this was interesting to them is that it provides them more information. It gives them a chance to create more confidence in the purchase ahead of actually buying from a sales rep. So while we might have in the past thought of a true brand experience center as maybe more focused on new cars, for example, this theme actually came from consumers of today wanting a chance to learn more about the vehicle itself, whether new or used. They want a chance to experience the vehicle, to learn about the vehicle, to ask questions without the pressure of a sales process quite yet. They want to be able to ask questions about the features, about the technology of the vehicle, whether in person or virtual. And then they want to be able to have that human interaction with someone who's an expert on the actual vehicle itself. That is the really important part here. This all leans towards this opportunity to build the relationship with a consumer digitally first. We live in a relationship-driven industry, of course, and now with virtual and digital tools that we have, we can start building those relationships even sooner with a customer before they step onto our lots. This is a big area to think about your current operation. How can you pull some of this into your current approach? Make sure that your sales team, for example, are true experts on the product and are taking time to explain the product, being the vehicle, to consumers, because that's what they're looking for. Do we have the ability to preview the vehicle digitally ahead of time? And then maybe have access to a salesperson or an expert for questions and help along the way. These are all ways that we can kind of pull that idea. We may not be building, a separate location for a brand experience or a vehicle experience anytime soon, but knowing that the need for that from consumers really fueled from them wanting a chance to talk to product experts first and to spend time with the vehicle, that we can insert into our process now. Another concept that really stood out for these general shoppers was kind of across the masses was the idea of test drive delivery. So the vehicle is dropped off to you at your home and picked up for maybe a 24-hour test drive period, that kind of thing, at the consumer's convenience. Over 8 in 10 consumers found this really appealing and were very interested in it, all because it makes things more convenient for them. It saves them time. So this research came out way pre-COVID, but now this is even bigger for consumers. So they love a contactless drop-off of a vehicle for a test drive. They'd like to test drive on their own terms if possible, but they're really open. There's options here. It doesn't have to be overnight. A lot of consumers are willing to put down a small deposit or even pay a fee for this that could then be applied to their purchase later on. A lot of options here to make this concept work for you if you are open to it and if you're able to flex kind of the logistics here. We've seen a lot of dealer customers who have really grabbed onto this idea of test drive delivery, and what they've done is they've leveraged their sales team, their salespeople, to do the logistics to deliver the vehicle for the test drive. They could be there to answer questions for the customer if they want at that point as well. Now, those were some of the concepts that really resonated with broad consumers. Let's look at those Trailblazers I mentioned before. These are going to push a little further into some really aspirational ideas here for our automotive industry. So you may look at some of these and think there's no way these things are possible for your operation specifically, but what's important here is to understand that this is where consumers' minds are at, and this is what they're looking for. So kind of how can we utilize technology and tools to enable some of these things, or just pull some of these concepts into our current day? So while Trailblazers have some in common with the general consumer, they really gravitate towards this idea of a virtual assistant. They also love any option of things happening remotely. And then they're interested in connecting lifestyle kind of integrations, right? So connecting your phone to your vehicle, to your coffee maker. We'll talk a little bit more about what that means. They want dramatic technology improvements. While they definitely want things like that idea of test drive at your home being delivered with pickup and drop off services, they lean even more towards new technology driven experience. Now, this group does skew more Gen Z, which is a younger audience, but we also see that millennials and Gen X in more urban areas love new technologies and are among the first to experiment with them. So many of these people have had a vehicle picked up for service before, have had a vehicle delivered for a test drive, or have completed a virtual reality style test drive in comparison with kind of the average consumer that maybe hadn't done those things yet. So they prefer an experience that's completely frictionless, that's flexible, that's personalized, that's data driven. And one of the key differences here is that they are comfortable and they expect their data to be used throughout the car shopping process in order to make their experience that much better. So let's dig into a few of these concepts. You can see how their journey pans out. And where there are some areas that push even more into that kind of tech forward space. Again, some of this may seem super far out for you all right now, but the idea is let's think even more innovatively, and hopefully these are some provocative concepts that will just help us find little areas that we can pick out to apply to experiences today. You saw in that opening video that there's this idea of holograms and virtual assistants that's really compelling to a lot of shoppers out there. They told us that they love the idea of an image of the vehicle that appears to be three-dimensional, allowing you to kind of spin it around, have a true 360-degree view of this vehicle as if it were right there in front of you. This is possible today with virtual reality and with kind of VR goggles that you've seen out there and some other technology that's being developed. But we could even start, again, how do we apply this today with better 360-degree spin imaging on our websites of vehicles. Consumers are really looking for that ability to look at more angles of the vehicle before they even see it in person. 90% of Trailblazers found this idea really appealing because it's exciting, it's innovative, and it gives them a deeper look at the vehicle itself. That flows right through to this idea of kind of a virtual simulator that would allow you to pick a certain road or a weather condition and really test drive the vehicle for those conditions all virtually. Being able to kind of physically feel or imagine how the vehicle handles under those conditions. And you could see everything from the interior of the vehicle being kind of simulated in this view to the outside and the actual kind of vehicle specs and everything. So this would be a really pretty close experience to real life. Trailblazers were also really interested in what kind of vehicle updates could be done remotely. The idea was any type of communication and update that could happen digitally and on their own time was super appealing to them. And then also being able to integrate your vehicle with your life. This was a big pull for these more forward-thinking consumers as they think of their vehicle as an integral part of their lives. That means connecting your vehicle to your calendar, your to-do lists, your grocery list, everything. Then your vehicle would proactively tell you when you need to do these certain things to make life easier. So you saw in that video some of the examples, the grocery store is on the left in 2 miles. You have 5 things on your grocery list. Do you want to navigate there now? These kinds of things that kind of become a virtual personal assistant. And in this case, the vehicle also learns your behaviors and can serve up kind of offers and ideas on how to tailor to those behaviors. Again, these ideas really branch into the actual vehicle itself, of course, and beyond just the shopping experience that you or I participate in. But it's important to think about these desires that are coming from consumers and the fact that they want these types of services, because it kind of helps us all to think about how do we get more innovative in these technologies, and how do we pull some of that forward? And in the future, if and when vehicles are offering these types of services, how would we then showcase them through the shopping experience to our potential customers? Now, the final concept I just want to touch on is that we're seeing consumers connecting and not being afraid to kind of take a step into this future technology faster than ever. Innovation is accelerating faster than ever. 86% of consumers agree that they're more dependent on technology now than ever before. So the idea of this innovation happening faster means that we have to plan for it to happen quicker than ever. So, we might have looked in the past at a short-term plan being the next 5 years or so, and maybe a long-term plan being 10 years. Well, now we think of it more short-term as really this kind of rolling plan and these ideas of things that are going to happen within the next year. And that's what we need to be thinking about, because if we plan too far out, everything's going to change by the time we get there. So a lot changing, and it's happening fast. And so the idea is, how do we build our operation to be nimble and agile and be able to listen to customers and give them the tools and the features that they're looking for in their shopping and buying experience. So to go back through those top 3 concepts we talked about today, service is a huge opportunity to remove friction now, and that carries over into the purchase process. There's simple logistics you can put in place that really allow you to build great relationships with customers right now. That next concept is to pay attention to those trailblazers, those tech-forward consumers, because they're giving us a view into the general population of the not-too-distant future. And so if we can think about how we meet their needs now, we'll be set up for success. And then finally, innovation is accelerating faster than ever. So that idea of the future is coming quick, and we need to be ready for it. I also wanted to pull out just the top 5 concepts that really resonated in this research we did, because we talked about how these ideas bubbled up into some themes, but I thought it was fascinating to look at these 5 points here, because they're all actually doable. All of these things can be done today, and you'll notice this consistent theme of drop off, pick up, delivery throughout most of these concepts. The idea of building that simple logistic into your operation that enables people to save time and for you to offer them a convenience that they may not have known that they could get from their car shopping and buying experience. It's more important than ever to make sure that your strategy is aligned with consumers' expectations, and to be open to the fact that the concepts that consumers expect may seem Jetsons-like and really far out there, but we need to lean in and we need to consider those concepts and think about what we can apply to our business today. Things like artificial intelligence may seem way out there, but consumers are already interacting with this technology in other verticals, in other industries. And so it's really important that we consider, how do we pull that into our plans right now? How do we pull that into the experiences that we're giving our car shoppers and buyers and owners in today's world? We know that the world's changing daily right now, and we have to operate in a way that enables buyers to buy cars in a simple and streamlined way. Their expectations for all things in life, grocery, clothes, dinner, and vehicles, is that everything comes to them and that it's simple and transparent. For those reasons, it's more important than ever to deepen relationships with our customers and extend beyond the traditional processes we're all used to. Our industry has leapt forward 10 years in the last few months, trying new digital tools, offering delivery services, and finding ways to flex our salespeople into new roles to keep our business and our industry going. This is the time to lean in hard to new approaches and to meet consumer demands that are out there. And here are a few ways that you can do it. So I appreciate your time today. Hopefully this made you think a little bit differently about how you might be able to operate and give consumers what they're looking for. Thank you.